folks, and welcome to GED Microlearning. My name is Dr. MCR, and this is GED Math Test 8. So as you know, the GED Math Test consists of several parts: an arithmetic part, algebra, and geometry. So if you're new to the channel, what you'll find in these tests is that I go through questions in each of these sections. I just think that it's really useful for you to be reviewing everything to keep it fresh in your mind. And with that said, let's get started with the basic arithmetic question. So this is a fraction problem. It says, if 1/5 of students like skiing and 2/4 like surfing, which fraction of the group prefers neither skiing or surfing? Okay, so to do this problem, the first thing that I suggest that you do is that you simplify your fractions. So 1/5 of students, that's going to remain the same, but 2/4, that is going to be simplified to 1/2. Okay, so we have 1/5 of students like skiing, 1/2 like surfing. And in the question, they're asking you which fraction of the students does not like skiing or surfing. So what you have to do is that you have to add these fractions, and whatever is remaining would be the group of students that prefers neither skiing nor surfing. All right, so I'm going to leave a card here if you have any questions with adding fractions. But basically what you do is this. First of all, if you use a method known as the bow tie method, what you do is you find a common denominator. And you do that by multiplying the two bottom numbers like that. So 5 times 2 would be 10. And then you do your little bow tie. So you would multiply 2 times 1, that gives you 2. And then 5 times 1, that gives you 5. So 2 plus 5 is equal to 7 over 10. Okay, so this is the fraction of students that like skiing or surfing. And then the fraction of students that prefers neither skiing or surfing would be 3 over 10. Okay, so your answer would be letter A. Questions 2 to 4 are applied arithmetic questions, and the first one is a percentage question. So it says, if 3% of the 2,100 people who buy a scratch card earn a prize, how many people do not earn a prize? And this problem has two parts. So let's do the first part first, obviously. Okay, so when I do percentage problems, I always like to fill out this little grid. The reason is because in the GED, they'll give you 2 pieces of information, so you'll end up only having to find a third piece of information, okay? So if you plug your numbers into this grid, it's going to be very easy to do these sort of problems, because what this grid represents is this equation. So the part divided by the whole is equal to percent over 100. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and fill out the grid? I'll give you like a few seconds. All right, so hopefully you filled it out like this, your equation like this, right? So in the problem, they're telling us that 3%, so that would be on the right side of your equation, you would say 3 divided by 100. And then in the problem, they're telling us that the whole number of people, or the total number of people, is 2,100. Okay, so that number would be in the bottom left side of your equation. All right, and then the part that you don't know is the part, okay, which is where x goes. Okay, so we would go ahead and solve this equation like that. So you multiply across, so it would be 100x, and then is equal to 6,300. In order to isolate that x, you would divide both sides by 100. That cancels out, and that gives us 63. So 63 would be the number of people who earned a prize. Okay, so 3% of 2,100 is the number of people who earned a prize. However, look at the question. It says how many people do not earn a prize. So what you would do now is you would take the total number of people, 2,100, minus what you just found out, the number of people who earn a prize, and that gives you the total number of people who do not earn a prize, which is 2,037, letter C. The next question is also a percentage problem, and it also has 2 parts. It says a tablet is on sale for 25% of its normal price of $150. If the sales tax is 5%, what is the cost of the tablet? Okay, so here what you have to do is two things. The first thing that you need to do, if you look at sentence 1, is to find out what the price on the tablet is after you apply the 25% discount. Okay, so that is part 1. So again, go ahead and set up your table like that. And hopefully you've set up your equation and it should look like this. Okay, so if you look at sentence 1, they tell you that the sale is 25%. So the right part of your equation should read 25 divided by 100. And then they tell you that the total price or the whole price is 150. So here, what you're finding out is what is the price when you apply the 25% discount. So again, we do as we did before, we just multiply across like that. That gives us 100x is equal to 3,750. So go ahead and divide that by 100 on both sides. And that gives us $37.50. Okay, so that is the discount that you get with a 25% sale. So how do you find out the price of the tablet after the discount? Well, what you would do is you would take the original price, 150, and then you're going to subtract the discount, which you just figured out. And that gives you a total of $112.50. Okay, so that is the first part of the problem. But notice that in the second sentence, they tell you that there is also a sales tax that you have to add. So this is part 2. You have to figure out how much 5% is, and then add that sales tax to the cost of the tablet. All right, so the way that we would do it is as we did before. So we set up our grid like this, okay, and here the important thing to remember is that the sales tax is going to be on the new price, okay, not the original $150, but on the price after the discount. So go ahead and set up your equation. All right, so hopefully you set up your equation like this. So on the right side, we would have 5 divided by 100. And then on the left side, we would have x and the new whole or total price, which is $112.50. If you go ahead and you multiply across like that, that gives you 100x is equal to $562.50. Divide by 100 on both sides, and that's going to give you your sales tax. So now what is the cost of the tablet? Well, here what you have to do is you have to take that price after discount, which we figured out in part 1, and then you add the sales tax on that price, which was $5.62, for a total of $118.12. Okay, so that is answer 1A. All right, question 3. Excuse me. All right, so this problem is a little bit different, and this is what the GED calls a setup problem. Sometimes they don't want you to give them an answer. They are more interested in finding out how you think, your thought process, or how you would solve a problem. So it says, a realtor hires a carpenter to make X number of repairs. Okay, so we don't know what X number of repairs means. That could be 5 repairs, it could be 27, it could be 169. All right, on a rental property. The total bill comes to $3,000. Which of the expressions below determines the average cost of each repair? All right, so notice that this is a question where they're asking you an average. So remember that an average is equal to the sum of all items divided by the number of items. If you look at the question, it tells you that the total bill comes to $3,000. So that is the sum of all items. So you'd put 3,000 on top. And then we have to divide that by the number of items. But if you notice in the question, it doesn't tell us the number. It just says X repairs. And again, we don't know what X is. It could be 1, it could be 5, it could be 29. Okay? So to get the average, you would divide 3,000 times X. All right, and that would be the answer, which is letter D. All right, question 4. So this is a question that looks at mean. So last week, I think we did mean, median, and mode. So I'll leave a little card up here in case you want to review that. And it's telling you that Joe played bingo 4 times this month. He earned $12, $0, $40, and $15. And they're asking you what his mean earnings were. So remember that a mean is literally the same as an average. And as we just saw, an average is equal to the sum of all items divided by the number of items. So this is going to be very straightforward. You essentially add up all of his earnings on the top, and then you're going to divide that by the number of times that he played bingo to get an average or a mean of his earnings. And that would give you $16.75. All right, let's move on to question 5, which is an algebra problem. And this is a very common type of problem that you'll see where they give you a formula, and the formula has 3 variables. You can see that there's an A, a B, and a C. And in the question, they're going to give you the values for 2 of these variables, and you essentially have to find the third one. So here they give you the value for letter B and letter C, and they're asking you to find the value of A. So the way that you find this is you essentially plug those numbers into your formula. So I've color-coded it here for easiness, so you can see that where there's a B, you would add the 4, which is in blue, and where there's a C, you would insert the 5, which is in pink. So your equation should look like this. So 7 times 4 multiplied by 5 minus 2. So when you solve these parentheses, you end up with 28 times 3. And 28 times 3 is 84. And now all you have to do is you take that 4 and divide it on both sides. And that helps you isolate the A on the left side. And that would give you 21. Okay, so your answer would be B. The final question is a geometry question, and this is a question that has to do with the equation of a line. Okay, so this is a question that kind of looks a little bit scary, but if you break it down into 2 pieces, it's much more manageable. All right, so what it says is, what is the equation of a line that goes through point 2, 7 and has a slope of minus 5? All right. So here what you have to remember, and you don't actually have to remember this formula because it will be provided for you in your formula sheet, but you have to remember that this formula exists and what it means. So if you look at this formula, it says y is equal to m, which stands for the slope, multiplied by x plus b, which stands for the y-intercept. So if we go back to our problem and it tells us the slope is minus 5. So all you have to do here, step 1, would be to introduce that minus 5 where the m is in the equation. So instead of having y is equal to mx plus b, you would have y is equal to minus 5x plus b. And the reason I wanted you to do this first step is because when you look at the answers, you can see that there's only 2 answers where that could be correct in this problem. All right. If you look at letter A, it's telling you that y is equal to 7x. Okay, so that would mean that the slope is 7, and it's not. It's minus 5. If you look at D, it's telling you that y is equal to 2x. Again, this is incorrect. The slope should be minus 5x. So you see that right off the bat, you can get rid of 2 options, which is super helpful. That's part 1. So part 2, what we have to find is the y-intercept, or letter B. How do we do this? Well, if you go back to the formula, to the question and the formula, you can see that in the question, they're giving you 2 points on a line. Okay, they're giving you an x value, which is the first one, and they're giving you a y value, the second one. All you have to do now is take those values for x and y and plug them into your equation. Okay, so instead of having y is equal to 5x plus b, you would now have 7 is equal to minus 5 times 2, which is the value for x, plus b. And when you solve this equation, you end up with 7 is equal to minus 10 plus b. What do you have to do now? Well, you have to isolate that letter b, and the way that you do it is that you add 10 to the right side and 10 to the left side. Why do you do that? Because minus 10 plus 10 is going to cancel out, is equal to 0, and then on the right side, you end up with 17 is equal to b. Okay, so if you take that value for the letter b and you just plug it into the equation, you end up with y is equal to minus 5x plus 17. And this, I think, is the best way to do it. If you do it in these 2 steps, it's going to be very easy for you to figure these questions out. All right, folks. Well, I hope you found that useful. If you did and you want more videos like this, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. As always, I'm very grateful for you watching. Have a terrific day. Stay positive and stay strong. Take care.